Hello everyone and welcome back to the next installment of our 10.1 raid guides, proudly presented by Kingston FURY. This is Crzypck from Method, and today we'll show you how to defeat Zskarn in Mythic Aberrus. For all of our Mythic videos, we'll assume you know the fight and its mechanics on heroic difficulty. As such, these videos will show you the Mythic mechanics and focus on the strategy to defeat the Mythic version of the encounter. If you need a refresher on any of the baseline heroic abilities, check out the heroic guide for the encounter on our channel. The Mythic version of this fight was changed a couple of weeks after launch to counter a cheese strat, and the new version requires the entire raid to heavily coordinate and control movement. It's a very mechanic and positioning focused encounter, and this guide will focus on the ideal way to move the raid around the room, bait various mechanics, and manage your limited amount of space within the room. Comp-wise, we recommend 3 tanks, 4 healers, and 13 DPS. Before we get into that, there's a few mechanical changes. On Mythic, each cast of Activate Dragonfire traps will now activate 4 traps, 2 of which are always under the boss, and 2 random ones around the room. You'll get 4 golems each spawn, and typically 2 casts of traps between each golem set, which, in theory, should allow you to clear the randomized traps. Properly controlling the traps that spawn directly under the boss, and allowing all of the available tools to be used to disarm the random traps is vital. Reinforced defenses causes the golems to become CC immune when they either reach 50% health or 100 energy. Elimination Protocol is a laser beam that'll shoot at the targets of unstable embers. Being hit by a laser increases the damage taken by subsequent lasers by 500% for 30 seconds. The traps, knockbacks, and tactical destruction are all handled as part of the positioning, so we'll talk about them all together in a bit. The golems will always come out at the same time as the tactical destruction, but require coordination to handle properly. For the first set of golems, you'll want to grip in the 2 golems closest to you and nuke them ASAP. The tactical destruction happens a couple seconds later, so you run from that, interrupt the 2 golems on the other side, then kill them. For the second set of golems, ignore the 2 close ones to you, as they need to run towards the other side anyway due to the trap locations. Throw out interrupts, run from the tactical destruction, and group them up and burn them. For the third set, ignore them until after the knockback, then group them up and burn them. From this point on, you'll keep doing this for the rest of the golem sets. Ignore, wait for knockback, then interrupt, group, and burn. Now, you probably noticed a bit ago that we recommended a 3 tank comp. You'll want your third tank to be a class with high mobility, and their only job is eating the shrapnel bombs. Every time a new set of bombs spawns, this third tank will run around, pop all of them, use active mitigation to help reduce the damage, and soak all of it. Having the third tank for this makes things much easier on the 2 remaining tanks, as they can solely focus on boss positioning instead of also managing swamps to run around for the bombs. For the embers and lasers, it's important to note that these are actually 2 distinct abilities. The unstable ember circles come out first, targeting 4 players. These players need to spread out and no one else can be standing on them. Remember, the circles will pulse damage, so do not get clipped. As the embers end, the boss will then shoot the laser at each ember. Make absolutely sure you do not get hit by this unless you're one of the actual targets. If you get hit by a laser from 2 sets in a row, you'll die, so be careful. These come out very frequently, so always be paying attention to where people are standing. Alright, let's get into movement and positioning. You have a great deal of control over where traps get placed and which ones you clear. The following animation shows absolutely ideal pathing. You'll be forced to deviate at times from the positioning we'll present here, as random traps will throw you off a bit, but you will want to try sticking as close to it as possible. In general, you want to try and keep the area between circle, square, and X clear of traps as much as you can. The circle marker here is where you'll get knocked into, starting with the second tactical destruction, and then every other knockback from that point forward. Keeping that area clear is vital. The rest of the markers are reference points for dropping traps or baiting tactical destructions. You want to drag the boss to moon on pull. The very first set of traps comes out a few seconds in, and you want these as close to the wall as possible, but you likely won't quite get them there. This will also spawn all the smaller traps that block the corners, and since this happens so soon after pulling, we'll call it trap set 0. Once these traps come out, shift towards triangle and place trap set 1 down there. This will be followed by the first tactical destruction, so the entire raid should shift towards diamond after trap set 1 spawns. Remember, tactical destruction is now positioned near the largest clump of players, so it's vital that the entire raid baits together on the marker. Once the tactical destruction starts, move to yellow, which is where you'll place trap set 2. From there, shift towards skull to drop trap set 3, then everyone should shift towards the X marker. Trap set 4 comes out right after the tactical destruction starts, so everybody needs to bait on the X, then move away. The tank should keep the boss near X as long as possible to ensure the traps are placed up there. If you move too soon, the traps will end up in bad places, which can wipe you. You'll get knocked into orange here, then nuke the golems. After the knockback, start moving back towards skull and drop trap set 5 between skull and moon. Move away from the traps and shift back to X to bait the next tactical destruction, and drop trap set 6 between set 5 and the X. You'll again be knocked back towards the orange, and this time you have about 20 seconds to plan movement. By this point, there's a lot of traps out, so you may need to audible. We recommend trying to go towards star here for trap set 7, but you may need to go closer to green instead. Following set 7, move back to X for the next tactical destruction bait. You want to hold on to 2 tools for trap set 8 so you have flexibility disarming traps near X here. This bait also overlaps with embers, so your chain of events should be clearing an opening near X, getting the boss there ASAP, having your ember targets spread out, and everyone else bait on X. Use the knockback yet again to be thrown to orange. Trap set 9 comes out shortly after the knockback, and it's possible these end up kind of dropped randomly. You should try and move towards star again, but by this point the room gets really tight. You can disarm 2 traps here to give yourself some breathing room, but make absolutely sure you hold on to at least 1 if not 2 tools for the 10th set. Keep the boss in this general area to place trap set 10, then immediately use tools to clear the X marker. Get tight on X as fast as possible once you open it up to bait the next tactical destruction. This window is really short and you might not actually have an opening between traps. Use raid cooldowns here as necessary because you really want to be as close to the X as possible for bait, even if that means running through a trap to get there. For this knockback, we recommend using a Warlock Gateway. Aim the gateway from the stack point to somewhere near orange that's safe where you won't land on a trap. This is by far the safest way to handle this knockback so you don't get thrown into traps and just die. From this point on, you're basically running out of room. The golems will spawn and won't have many open traps, so they will just kind of end up near you. Blow them up and use the tools to give yourself some breathing room. Spread for the embers and lasers here and just stay alive, move away from traps as soon as they spawn. You have about a minute from this point to kill the boss, at which time you'd get another tactical destruction. You won't have any space left to survive that destruction, so you have to kill the boss before it happens. If you enjoyed this guide, remember to like it and make sure you're subscribed to the channel to catch all of our previews, guides, kill videos, and more. A big thank you again to Kingston FURY for making guides like these possible. From everyone here at Method, have a great day, and we'll see you next time.